The tension around this derby clash could be felt long before the first ball was even kicked. Celtic fans knew it was going to be one of those nights that tests every nerve you have. When matches between Celtic and Rangers reach the stage where penalties are needed, it feels less like football and more like a battle of pure emotion. Everyone remembers moments like these for years, sometimes even decades, because they leave a mark on you as a supporter. And this latest chapter was no different. By the time the shootout arrived, it already felt like the match had taken years off the lives of the fans watching. Extra time was almost unbearable. The tension in the stands and in living rooms across Scotland was through the roof. Every attack felt like it might decide everything, and every defensive moment felt like a potential disaster waiting to happen. There were supporters who simply could not bring themselves to watch certain penalties. The pressure was just too much. Yet when the moment came for Celtic to step forward and take their kicks, the composure shown by the players was remarkable. Rio Hatate, for example, struck his penalty with absolute conviction. There was authority in the way he stepped up and buried the ball, the kind of confidence that settles nerves across an entire support. What stood out during the shootout was not just the quality of the penalties from Celtic players, but also the presence of Viljami Sinosalo in goal. Even before the kicks were taken, you could sense that Rangers players were having to think twice about where they were placing the ball. Sinosalo made himself huge, full of energy and belief, constantly grabbing the ball and returning it quickly to the next Celtic taker. Those little mind games matter in moments like that. Rangers had players with incredible records from the spot, including James Tavernier, a man who has scored more than 70 penalties in his career. Yet, even he was not immune to the pressure, smashing his effort against the crossbar in a moment that shifted the entire mood of the shootout. From that point on, Celtic's confidence seemed to grow with every kick. The players approached the spot with calmness, as if they fully believed the outcome was already written. Each penalty was taken with precision and courage, and when the final one hit the net, the celebrations erupted. It was not just about winning a shootout. It was about going to Ibrox and eliminating Rangers from the cup, something that always carries enormous weight for the Celtic support. While the shootout delivered the dramatic finish, there was a lot more surrounding this match. After the final whistle, there were plenty of questions directed at the Celtic camp, particularly about events away from the pitch. Yet many within the club were quick to bring the focus back to the football itself. The message was simple. Celtic had come to Ibrox, fought through a grueling contest, and knocked their biggest rivals out of the competition. It may not have been a beautiful performance, but the job was done, and sometimes in derby football that is the only thing that matters. Before the match even started, the team news had already caused a stir among supporters. When the lineup was released, there were more than a few raised eyebrows. Several key names were missing, and that immediately raised questions about how Celtic would cope in such a demanding fixture. Kieran Tierney was not available, although there was hope he could return the following weekend. Even more surprising was the absence of Callum McGregor. The captain has been such a central figure for Celtic in recent seasons that seeing his name missing from the starting 11 immediately made fans uneasy. The explanation given was that McGregor was dealing with an injury concern, something that may even require further checks to determine the extent of the issue. For a player whose influence on Celtic's midfield is so significant, the idea that he could miss several matches naturally becomes a worry for supporters. On top of that, goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel was also unavailable, still recovering from illness and not even making the bench. As the lineup sank in, the nerves began to build. Prior to the announcement, many Celtic fans had felt quietly confident about the team's chances. But seeing such important figures absent instantly changed the mood. The responsibility would fall on other players to step up and handle the intensity of one of football's fiercest rivalries. The opening stages of the match suggested Celtic were trying to settle into the contest carefully. The first few minutes looked fairly controlled, with the team attempting to find some rhythm on the ball. However, that brief calm did not last long. Rangers began to push forward with increasing energy, and for a significant period of the first half they controlled much of the play. Celtic struggled to keep possession and found it difficult to build meaningful attacks. There were long spells where the ball simply would not stick in Celtic's midfield. Passes went astray, clearances came straight back, and the pressure continued to mount. It was not a comfortable watch. At times it felt similar to previous matches where Celtic had struggled to impose themselves, particularly during stretches where Rangers were able to push numbers forward and force the game into Celtic's defensive third. Despite the pressure, there was also a sense that Rangers were not fully capitalizing on their dominance. They had plenty of attempts, but many of them failed to seriously trouble the Celtic goal. That became an important theme as the match progressed. While Rangers generated a high number of shots, the number that truly tested the goalkeeper was far lower than the raw statistics might suggest. As the minutes passed, the contest became more about resilience than style. Celtic were clearly missing the control that someone like Callum McGregor usually provides in midfield. His ability to dictate the tempo and distribute the ball calmly under pressure often acts as the team's anchor in difficult matches. Without him, Celtic had to rely on determination and defensive organization to stay in the game. Without that familiar control in the middle of the park, Celtic had to dig in and rely heavily on the players at the back. The match gradually became a test of concentration and defensive discipline. Rangers were sending balls forward, trying to stretch the game, trying to create that one opening that could break Celtic's resistance. Yet time and again the defensive line stood firm, clearing crosses, winning headers, and putting their bodies in the way when it mattered most. Liam Scales was one of the players who really embraced that battle. Wearing the captain's armband on the night, he seemed determined to lead by example. There were several moments where Rangers tried to deliver dangerous balls into the area, and Scales was there to meet them with strong headers that relieved the pressure. Those defensive interventions may not always grab the headlines, but they are often the moments that keep a team alive in matches like this. Alongside him, Austin Trusty produced a performance that surprised quite a few observers. There had been plenty of debate beforehand about whether he should start such a big match, but once the game began he looked fully committed to the challenge. He was aggressive in the duels, composed when clearing the ball, and showed the kind of determination that supporters appreciate in a derby atmosphere. By the time the match moved into the later stages, it was clear that he had played a significant role in keeping Celtic in the fight. The same could be said for Julian Araujo, whose energy and intensity stood out throughout the night. From the early stages, he looked completely comfortable in the environment, embracing the hostility of the stadium and responding with fearless football. His physical strength allowed him to compete in tight situations, while his pace helped him recover when Rangers attempted to break quickly. There were moments where he carried the ball forward with real purpose, giving Celtic a brief chance to relieve the pressure and move the play away from their own penalty area. What impressed many people about Araujo was not just his footballing ability, but also his attitude. In matches of this magnitude, mentality often matters as much as technical skill. He seemed to thrive on the intensity of the occasion, feeding off the atmosphere rather than shrinking from it. Even during heated moments near the touchline, he showed the sort of confidence and personality that supporters love to see in derby matches. Behind that defensive unit stood Viljami Sinosalo, and his contribution cannot be overstated. While Rangers had plenty of attempts, the goalkeeper handled his responsibilities with impressive authority. One of the most noticeable aspects of his performance was how aggressively he dealt with crosses. Instead of staying rooted to his line, he repeatedly came forward to claim the ball, cutting out potential chances before they could even develop. That approach relieved enormous pressure from the defenders in front of him. Each time he caught a cross or stepped out confidently to gather the ball, it gave the team a few precious seconds to reset their shape. In matches where momentum can swing quickly, those moments of calm are incredibly valuable. There were also a couple of situations where his decision-making stood out. On one occasion, he read a long ball early and raced outside the penalty area to head it clear before the Rangers attacker could reach it. It was a bold move, because mistiming it could have led to serious trouble. Instead, his timing was perfect, and it demonstrated the awareness and confidence that he carried throughout the evening. As the match dragged deeper into the second half, and then into extra time, fatigue began to creep into both teams. The pace slowed slightly, and the game started to feel like it was drifting towards penalties. Celtic had moments where they tried to push forward, but the lack of fluid passing meant clear chances were difficult to create. Rangers continued to send balls forward, but their finishing never quite found the precision required to break through. In situations like that, the psychological side of football becomes crucial. Celtic may not have been dominating the match, but they were refusing to collapse. Every clearance, every tackle, Every header was another reminder that they were determined to take this contest as far as it needed to go. The players understood the importance of simply staying in the fight. Rio Hatate was another figure who gradually grew into the match. Early on, he had limited opportunities to influence the game, largely because Celtic struggled to maintain possession in midfield. Yet as the contest wore on, his composure on the ball started to become more noticeable. When Celtic managed to build attacks, Hatate was often involved in linking the play and trying to move the ball into more dangerous areas. Although it was not a flawless performance from the team as a whole, there was a sense that the group possessed a certain resilience. Even players who were not having their most effective games continued to work tirelessly for the badge. That collective determination became the foundation that carried Celtic through the difficult periods of the match. By the time the final minutes of extra time approached, the possibility of penalties felt almost inevitable. Supporters on both sides were bracing themselves for the drama that would follow. Derby matches already carry enormous emotional weight, and when they are decided from the penalty spot, the tension multiplies. Celtic players gathered together, speaking quietly, encouraging one another as they prepared for the shootout. Moments like that reveal a lot about a squad's mentality. Despite everything that had happened during the match, there was a visible sense of belief among them. They knew they had endured a tough evening, but they also knew they had given themselves the opportunity to finish the job. When the shootout finally began, that belief translated into composure. One by one, Celtic players stepped forward with the confidence required to deliver under immense pressure. Each successful penalty increased the tension for Rangers, while strengthening the conviction that Celtic might just pull off a memorable victory in one of the most demanding stadiums in Scottish football. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. In a city where every whisper can grow legs and run the length of the Clyde, a new murmur has begun to circle around Kieran Tierney and his bond with Celtic FC. And this time, the noise didn't come from agents, pundits, or the usual social media guesswork. It came from the man himself. For months, the talk in Glasgow has ebbed and flowed like the tide. Speculation about the future of the former academy hero who once sprinted down the Parkhead flank with a scarf round his neck and the roar of the support behind him. But recently, Tierney finally broke his silence in a moment that many around the club are already calling the spark that stopped the city in its tracks. Those close to the dressing room insist the left-back spoke candidly when asked about his connection to Celtic, a club he has never hidden his affection for. According to sources around Parkhead, his words were calm, measured, but heavy with meaning, the kind that supporters latch onto instantly. He's never been one for big speeches, said one figure familiar with the situation. But when he talks about Celtic, ye can hear it. That feeling hasn't gone anywhere. That alone has been enough to ignite speculation across the green and white half of Glasgow. Some fans believe Tierney's comments hint at unfinished business, a suggestion that the defender still sees a chapter of his career tied to the club where he first made his name. Others around the Scottish game urge caution. Football, they say, moves quickly and sentiment doesn't always dictate decisions. Contracts, opportunities, and timing can complicate even the most romantic of potential returns. Still, the rumor mill rarely sleeps in Glasgow, and Tierney's words have given it fresh fuel. Supporters have begun to imagine the possibility. The familiar number charging forward again, the roar of the crowd rising as if no time had passed. Whether it was a simple reflection or something more deliberate remains open to interpretation. But one thing is certain, when Kieran Tierney speaks about Celtic, the city listens. And right now, the whispers are only getting louder. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.